replay every time with Rob Browne breaking it all down. Yeah. SEC Sidelines Sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time, highlight shine, executive mind. Brendan Martin keeping Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline Sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune.
I love this song, Brendan. Yeah, you and the band did a great job. Look, Rob Browne here with you in Memphis on this Tuesday morning, February 10th. Wow, it's flying by. Brendan Martin in Ocala, Florida, executive producer. Got a great lineup today. Before we get to them, do us a favor. Click on this and like, share, and subscribe with your phone. 8 channels live streaming, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, okay? Covering the SEC and all the college sports. We cover college sports in the South like kudzu.
Kudzu cotton.
That's what we do. And Wes knows what kudzu is because he lives in the Tennessee River Valley. Hey,
I don't know what it is, but
it's a big old leaf that was brought over to control erosion by the people at the Auburn School of Agriculture, and it's kind of taken over. But they also did.
You had me at erosion. You had me at erosion.
Right. Hey, look, do us a favor, though. Like, share, subscribe. Let your friends know we're on. We got Wes Neighbors from over in Alabama. Man, he knows Alabama's program, but he knows college football and the sports scene like very few people you'll ever find. Jacques Doucet from Baton Rouge, WAFB Channel 9, 2-time Louisiana Sportscaster of the Year, coming up right after this covering LSU. Also, we'll have Franz Beard in the second half hour talking some basketball. Man, he is a basketball savant. But first off, Wes, we were talking in the pre-show before we came on live. Your sister-in-law has got to be one of the most talented artists. Being the son of an architect and an artist who painted a lot, I thought it was a Leroy Neiman. I really mean it. It's that good. And next time we get you a straight back shot of that thing as a background, because I think you could sell a couple of those things, Wes.
Well, she could anyway, right?
That's right. Hey, thanks for coming on with us. There's so much talk right now, and we kind of focused on it yesterday with Ellis Johnson and Coach Pete Cordelli and Dave Bartu of College Football Matrix about the SEC keeps putting out so many players on NFL rosters. You saw it Sunday in the Seahawks game. It's great to see Derek Hall play and, Carlton Davis III. You've got so many players. Alabama's got more than anybody. But the last 3 years, no national championships. You've played in the NFL. You know both sides of it. Kind of tell us, what is the SEC? What's the doctor's prescription to get this league back on top?
Well, with NIL, they changed the way that you do things, and it's opened up a whole new world for people. And I think the Vanderbilts and the Indianas have come so far. I mean, there were 35 and 6-year players on Vanderbilt's football team last year. And you look at all the old guys that are playing for Indiana.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is, these 4 and 5-star college kids, I don't care who they are, you got about maybe 2% of those can play and be effective all year long. I mean, you watch some of the freshmen that do well early, and by the end of the year, they're worn out, because in high school, maybe they play 14 games. Maybe they didn't get hit like they do even in practice, much less in a game. So it's a changed atmosphere. And then you get with, you don't know what you don't know. I started as a freshman, and I look at the guys beside me, and they were real experienced guys, and they were able to help me. But you put 2 freshmen, like they had 2 rookies on the left side of the Patriots the other night, it's disasters coming. Yeah. And so you can't expect 18, 19-year-old kids to block 23, 24-year-old kids consistently. Yeah. And that's what's going on. That's what's changed. You look at all these teams, and it's going to be hard to win back-to-back, though, because you don't have any of these players coming back.
Yeah.
You look at Ohio State, they bought the best players out of the Southeastern Conference that year. They won it and kept the ones they had that could have gone to the NFL and didn't. That's the mixture now. You got to have those seniors and then you have to have a great class like Ole Miss had last year, and again this year it looks like to back up the guys that just left. So the whole I guess the whole book has changed on how you win a national championship.
Yeah.
And of course, Alabama's going to be the slowest, I think, to move because they were so successful what they're doing. You know, they're having top 5 classes every year. This year, last year, they're recruiting very well. They haven't done as well in the portal because they're going to have trouble, in my opinion, competing with Ohio State and the northern teams that have a lot more money than the University of Alabama.
Rob, I wanted to ask because I saw Kurt Russell at one of the Super Bowl commercials, and he was pretending to be his old. Forgot the coach's name from the Miracle on Ice from the
Herb Brooks.
Herb Brooks, sorry, and it just made me think, God, isn't this kind of like that? I mean, a little bit like David versus Goliath again. Like we're filtering down, right? So it's like now we're just watch, the Olympics and it's all professional athletes, right? So we're okay with that now. So it's like, how much of it do we just continue to tolerate? That this is going to eliminate, more than that because we have academia and everything else involved. And I don't know. What do you think, Wes? Is that crazy?
Well, no, so here's sooner or later, everybody's going to get tired of paying the money. You see it already. So I think a lot of this will go away, or some of it. The thing about for the Olympic model, but the Olympic model doesn't have boosters that are paying somebody to go to a hospital, which is, sounds good, but until you realize they're paying $2 million for them to go to the hospital. And none of the money is going to the people in the hospital. It's just, they're doing charity events for outlandish money, and they're calling that NIL. So, and that's just an example of what's going on. Whereas the Olympic model, they're training, they're working, and they're doing advertise for Wheaties, and that's how they're getting paid. There's no outside.
Right.
So I have no problem with that.
No pay to play, right? So
no pay to play. It's paying off their product.
Right. Did they mitigate that well? In that sense, it seems like the Olympic Committee and all that, they sort of handled that well. Is that something to look to and say, hey, look, they got corporate sponsorship involved, and they did that a much better transition. Athletes are still wildly successful if they win the gold, right? All of this stuff sort of translates. I don't know. Just crazy thoughts. I just feel like it is sometimes we got to look to something that worked to maybe get an idea.
Yeah, well, I think that's what was supposed to happen. There's actually something that's supposed to be reviewing these NIL deals, just like there's not supposed to be tampering. But there is. I mean, everybody talks about Ole Miss tampering, and there's no doubt they did. But the reason they're tampering is because their guys got stolen by Lane Kiffin at LSU. Who totally tampered after these guys had already signed contracts.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. I was talking to the Eggman yesterday, my buddy up on Crowley's Ridge, and he's a big North Dakota State Bison fan. He was bragging, and he was proud. I don't blame him. 2 of the starting offensive linemen, the center and the right guard for the Seahawks, are from North Dakota State. Now they're going to move up. Once they start getting more high profile, I think people are going to go after their linemen, because that one guy, he said, got 6,000 in NIL at North Dakota State. Well, they're going to find people like that, and there's pretty good football around the country. You played offensive line. Dave Bartu preaches this. Every good coach, it, continuity or lack thereof. How do you build an offensive line? Is your son on the staff at Ole Miss now?
Yes, he is, yes.
Okay, talk about that and what they've got to do, because it's hard to microwave greatness.
But it's easier when you get older guys, though. I mean, again, you don't know what you don't know when you get there. I mean, you don't know what you're watching on film, how to, a guy has a certain move, you're not going to know how to stop it unless you work on it.
Yeah.
And, or just footwork with offensive linemen is so important. Double teams, knowing how your guy's going to double team versus this guy, and steps are all very important. You watch the Super Bowl, they try to get the guard to help the tackle, and twice the guard knocked the tackle off of the guy he was blocking, and he sacked the quarterback. Then they want to talk about the tackle. So, I mean, and they weren't ready for that high profile game. There's no doubt. But
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all, it's all, a lot of it's timing. A lot of it's getting to know the guy next to you. But if you're a senior and you've been doing it for 5 years and you've been practicing this for 5 years, it's really obvious, or 6 years and 7 years, some of these guys, they're going to be better at it than the young guys, which makes a big difference when you playing high level guys. You can't, you block Reggie White, you better be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, we changed whole blocking schemes in the middle of the game.
Yeah,
because
you better be perfect all game. You better
because
he's waiting for that moment.
4-5, and so we would, if the nose guard went to the left on a sweep, we used to not block him. He was blocking himself. Well, Reggie turned, made the tackle in the backfield, and so most defensive linemen run 5.51. He was 0.6 faster, which is, I mean, he was faster than our running back.
Yeah.
So you change with everybody, but to be able to change, you have to work on it sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was a freshman and I was able to do it because I had two guys beside me that were seniors that were awesome. Yeah. And so we were able to, they talked to me and then they made all the calls. But you get a freshman up there that is making the calls like Georgia had in the Ole Miss game, who snapped the ball when he wasn't supposed to snap it, made Kirby look awful for going forward on, in his own thing. That ball was not supposed to be snapped.
Yeah.
So that's what gets you beat in these games is freshmen, young players. Indiana didn't have any.
Yeah. Well, you think about the age and experience, 22 and a half years of age for Indiana. Vanderbilt, you mentioned, the oldest team in the SEC. Let's focus on Alabama. I got a ton of, my oldest daughter remarried at Mallory, Alabama grad. She's a great person. I love her. And I got people are asking, how's Alabama going to turn it around? Gary Harris said about 2 or 3 years ago on this show, Alabama fans were late to the NIL party because they said, we are the tip of the spear. We are college football, but they've got the money, Wes. I know they're boosters, but you and I both know in the investment world, if you keep losing people's money, you cannot go back. You'll lose your clients.
Well, I don't think they've spent the type money that the last 3 teams that won it have. I don't think there's any credit. I mean, the last 3 teams that have won it, the Big Ten has spent double the amount of money Alabama spent on NIL.
Wow.
I mean, you look what Texas did. Now, you throw $40 million down the tube every year, that's not a model you're going to be able to keep. No. They spent all their money on everything but linemen. This year, they went and got linemen. So, it's just I don't think, first of all, Alabama's not going to be on the mountaintop for a minute. And if they do, they're not going to be able to stay up there because that model's gone. Just like Ohio State won it once. Michigan won it once. And now is on the 3rd head coach or 2nd head coach since they won it, in 2 years. Yeah. It's just, you got to be careful, though, in this model. I love our coaching staff. I think they're doing a great job. I think they're doing a good job recruiting. You had a lot of injuries last year. Listen, Ty Simpson was banged up, not a little bit, a lot, after the Missouri game for the rest of the year. He's having back troubles. He's not practicing. Their timing gets off. That's what happens. But most people that are, or the majority of people, especially the money people in Tuscaloosa, they think we're doing a good job of recruiting. They realize that there's no way we get back to where we were because all the 2nd string players were we had 6 or 7 guys out of the 2nd rated class last year already gone. Yeah. Already left. Yeah. So that model's not going to work. And that's what I've been saying. Yeah. You have to bring the Ole Miss is doing the best job, in my opinion, in the conference. And that's why they've risen so much. And they're using the portal. Yeah. They're a portal team. They did get good recruits, but they're mixing more in the portal and getting these older guys. So you look at Ole Miss safeties last year. They brought in a starting safety at Florida State, a starting safety at Florida, and a starting safety at Georgia. So you got 3 guys coming in that they're replenishing through the portal. Whereas if you go and have the top recruiting class, well, that's good for 2 or 3 years down the line if you can keep them. Yeah. And that's going to be the problem. So you got to get more. To me, it has to be 50-50. You got to bring in really good guys. And if you're not, which Alabama hasn't been, then you're not. It's going to be tough for you to win it. Now, they're a very up and down team last year because of the injuries, and there's no depth. And you have no depth because all your young guys have, the guys that were second string left. Got paydays.
SEC just becomes a pool to get all the fish in one pond, and they get picked off by these other schools that got money. Look, it becomes a proving ground.
Schedules.
Yes,
and they get beat up to hell. That's what happened to Alabama.
And they can see who's going to be good, and then why not come along with some money and we'll take him. It's a proving ground. That's why it's like, great, let them recruit like hell. Let the SEC, we'll just come and take the good guys later on.
Exactly what has happened.
Wes, the interesting thing before you go, and we'll get you back on next week, continue this, because you think about Dabo. They took 9 guys in the portal this year, which is 6 more than they had done combined in the previous 5 years. Either you adapt and improvise and move forward, or you're the ivory-billed woodpecker, aren't you?
Well, if Dabo hadn't won 3 national championships, he'd be gone already.
Yeah.
Because he didn't adjust.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question. I love Dabo. I know Dabo very well. Know most of the staff.
Yeah.
And you look at that program, and the only reason he survived this year is because of his past performance. And he's a good football coach.
Yes.
You can't take that away. All the games they lost were really close games. And it was that team never came together for whatever reason. More likely playing a bunch of young guys in certain positions when other people get hurt. I mean, Alabama was putting in freshmen on the defensive line.
Yeah.
Heck, there's I guess 15 defensive linemen. There were 3 in the game Sunday. None of those guys played as freshmen. Not a one of them.
Yeah.
Hell, Baltimore was redshirted his first year and barely played his second. His third year, then he ends up a number 1 pick. That happened a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, and they improved as the reason. But last year, Alabama's got freshmen all over the place playing defense. At one time last year, they had 5 freshmen starting a game.
Yeah, remember that.
That's just hard that model will not win championships.
Yeah.
It'll get you to the playoffs because how good they are. And I think Kalen DeBoer and them are really good and did miracles to win any games the last half of the season with as many injuries they had. They didn't have one back that was healthy at the end of the year.
Yeah, and it is interesting. Jam Miller, the only time they had a 100-yard back, one time the entire season. West neighbors in Huntsville. I call it the smartest city in Alabama. Always had a ton of fraternity brothers from there. Guys like my lovely pledge trainer, Philip Allen Thompson. You know what Huntsville is? The watercress capital of the world. I had to know that on his visitation.
Actually, that's a new market, and that's where I live, in the watercress capital of the world.
Damn right. Look, Wes, tell them how they can follow you and keep up with you, because you got Drew DeArmond. You got an all-star lineup on that powerful radio station in Huntsville.
Well, we're 97.7. Go to WZZN. We got an app on Apple and Drone where you can pull us up and listen to us anytime. Drew's something else, but we have other really good guys and really good commentary. We even got a New Yorker doing a noon show. So yeah, we have fun. And when we travel, we all go together.
Yeah.
There's 7 of us that travel and go to all the different things, and we just have fun with it. So we're having a good time.
Well, I love it. We can talk football year round, 24/7. Wes, have a great day. See you next week.
All
right. Brendan, that's great stuff, getting into that about the how and the why things are happening in college football. But if you're not adapting and you're not thinking and innovating, you're going to be left behind. Here's one of the best in the business, Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9. Jacques, I apologize. We had a little bit of a late start. Jacques, remember the old TV days? I know when I was a TV reporter, I was young Rob. I was the new guy. So I got to work Saturdays and Sundays. And I was telling my wife the other day, it's a lot of 18, 20-hour Saturdays. From the time you're up at 4 to cover a game, and on the Eastern time zone, the news is over at 11:30. But if a game goes long, it's 12, 12:30 at night. But you love it, and that's why you're so great to bring on this show. You cover LSU, but you cover the SEC. You know what road trips are. And then you got Lane Kiffin down there now to cover. Kim Mulkey. You got Jay Johnson's won 2 national I mean, what's not to like at LSU?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just did a sit down with Jay Johnson. We're doing for the first time ever at the station a LSU baseball preseason special. It'll air Thursday at 6:30 and stream on Roku for any of your out of town LSU baseball people. But one of the questions I talked to Jay about was people who love what they do. A question that petrifies them is, if you weren't doing what you are doing, what would you do?
Yeah.
And I joked with him. I said, I can't envision. You're in good hands with Allstate. Call Jay Johnson at 225. Yeah. And he said, yeah, exactly. He goes, we're sitting here. It's February the 3rd. I think we shot the interview in the month of January. It went by like that. Like I blinked and it was gone. And that's when like when I talk to interns and high school students and whatnot, you want a job where you go to work and you're not looking at your watch. It's 9 o'clock. It's 9:45. When do I get to go home? When do I get to leave?
Yeah.
And look, I'm blessed and highly favored to get to cover sports for a living and get paid for it. Is it the greatest job in the world? Yes. Is it easy? No. I mean,
No.
you have to work. You have to put in hours. You have to, love what you do. The other day I was showing somebody a 3-minute piece could take, by the time you're done shooting it and editing it and all that, it could take, 3, 4, 5 hours before you're done. I mean, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just telling you, like the other day, we did a Lane Kiffin special. It was a half-hour special. And I was doing the math in my head. And I'm like, well, by the time you're done, for every minute of a special, it's probably about 1 hour of work. You probably put 30 hours of work into a half-hour special if you want to do it well anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I got the best job in the world. And ain't digging a ditch and ain't working on a roof, believe me. And like you said, I don't know if LSU sports, their brand has ever been better, more exciting. The coaches we have, like you said, Jay Johnson, Kim Mulkey, Lane Kiffin coming in, Jay Clark doing gymnastics. I mean, they beat up Beth Tarina and she goes to super regionals, So it's quite a place.
I'm just wondering. I've been watching the Olympics at night, watching those Dutch speed skaters. I think speed skating is becoming very popular. Just seeing the talent of those speed skaters. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I love all the sports, and that's one thing LSU is. It is an everything school. Let's talk about this portal class. Lane Kiffin, close to 40 players coming in. And we've talked with, Frank Duffy's a big part of our show, does a Goal to Go Tigers podcast on this channel. We need to get you on as a guest if you'll come on with him. But talking about the portal, they're thinking maybe Lane Kiffin goes 60%, maybe 70% high school because he's at LSU now versus what he did at Ole Miss. Do you see that trend developing, or is he just going to say, I'm going to go where the opportunity is. I'm not going to, box myself in.
Well, obviously, there's more. The coaches are being paid more than they've ever been paid, but they've got more pressure on them than they've ever had before. They have to win now, and they are now getting, obviously, the free agents to fill the roster more than being patient with the high school kid, coming out of high school. Now, a guy like DJ Pickett, who has immense talent, will always have a spot on the college football team. But, we've seen it that kids are getting kicked down a level. There's a kid, tremendous wide receiver here by the name of Jarvis Washington, who plays for a school called Dunham. Elijah Haven's the quarterback. He's the number 1 quarterback in the class of 27 coming up. And he's going to South Alabama, which is a good program and everything. But maybe 10 years ago, he's going to Auburn or something. And so now he goes and he plays 1 year of ball there, probably enters the portal and then tries to get taken by an SEC school. They, like you said, I think it's 42 they took in from the portal. They signed another 15 out of high school. So you're talking about 60 new players who have to learn each other's names. Who are you? What? And then go into spring ball, learn a new offense, 13 new coaches. It's going to be a season like we've never seen at LSU before. Kiffin, if anybody can do it, he's done it at Ole Miss before. I mean, I've seen him. You and I have been at SEC Media Days when he's gotten up and said, is this good for college football, turning over the roster 60, 70 players? Probably not, but these are the rules of engagement. This is what we have to do. And so, and now attacking a schedule, like I don't know if I've ever been more excited about an LSU schedule in a long time, in which you guys were just talking about Clemson. Clemson comes to Tiger Stadium, season opener. You got back-to-back home games against Alabama and Texas, two of the biggest brand names in the sport. You go to Auburn. You go to Kentucky. These are nice road trips. I always like going to your last 2 games of the year. Pack a coat. You're going to Tennessee and Arkansas in late November.
Yeah.
So it could be, it's a challenging schedule. No doubt about it. No, by the way, they go to Oxford September 19th, where they'll probably be throwing batteries. I joked with Verge Alsbury. I did a sit down with him the other day. I said, "You're going to bring in the National Guard?" And without blinking an eye, he goes, "No, those guys they sent into Venezuela. Those are the guys we're going to bring." And he said, "No, I don't expect any problems. It'll be safe. It'll be fine. It's college football." But I may want to be standing far away from Lane Kiffin on September 19th.
Well, I went back when Tuberville made his trip in 2000. My friend was his attorney, and so he had a field pass. I didn't want to get one, but he took Jason Campbell to Oxford, who had been the #1 player in Mississippi the year before, and brought him in there. And it was really interesting because the entire time he just said, "Throw the ball," and just drive them crazy. And he was being redshirted. But I was there when the bus pulled up, and Tuberville came off of the bus, and the greeting that he got and the verbiage, let's just say that the decorum prohibits me repeating the language, but it wasn't "Welcome back to Oxford. We're so glad to have you." It was kind of a 180, the opposite. All right, look, I know we were running a few minutes behind, but I got to ask you, when you look at Lane Kiffin, the way he's going around the state, he seems like, look, there's no easy way to leave a program. But LSU, he talked about those 2 defensive linemen. They were going to maybe wait until February, but they went ahead and signed early, the top 2 players in the state. And it's a very powerful statement Lane Kiffin made. He goes, "They didn't sign with me. They signed with LSU because LSU is LSU." Talk about the brand. I mean, that's a powerful statement.
Well, that was a big week for him. He came in, and by the end of the week, Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator, was leaning towards going to Tulane to become the head coach. Baker played at Tulane, and he was very torn on the matter. Kiffin saved that, kept him, and by keeping him, he kept Corey Raymond. He kept Kevin Peoples. He kept Jake Olson on the defensive side of the ball, and those 2 big defensive linemen, Richard Anderson from New Orleans, and then Lamar Brown and U-High, both signed by the end of the week as well. And the recruiting guys who followed this stuff a lot more and better than I do said defensive linemen were the biggest key to LSU in this class. And so, I'm thinking in my head, I mean, how many guys have coached at 3 different SEC schools, right? Kiffin's been at Tennessee, he's been at Ole Miss, and now he's at LSU. And so, LSU, they've got 31,000 new season ticket requests. Kiffin got higher. They've got their sponsorship's gone up 30%. Everyone wants to be a part of this. You've got a coach who tweets all the time now that fans feel like they can interact with on Twitter, because he will. It's just an interesting deal. I mean, I came in, I was the grand marshal in a Mardi Gras parade here Saturday, and the Post, they're like, "Hey, come over here. He's playing pickleball at the blah, blah, blah." Between me and you, I was in no condition to drive, but so I didn't make it. But anyway, I mean, he's brought a lot of excitement, and the marriage of Kiffin with LSU, Tiger Stadium, the talent in Louisiana. This could be a home run. And real quick, he's 50 years old. You look at old clips of him when he was at Tennessee and the coach of the Oakland Raiders. He just looked so young. He just looked like out of his depth, like he wasn't ready for that. And I'm not saying he's ready for it now, but I think, 6 years at Ole Miss, what he did, he kind of, the immature job hopper thing, I think he did a lot to put that behind him. And look, I'm not going to say no one's going to do what Nick Saban did. Just like no one's going to do what Skip Burtman did. Maybe Jay Johnson will. I don't know. But Saban didn't win a title till I think he was 52 years old. And you're getting Kiffin at 50 years old. And, he may stay here a long time and do great things.
Yeah, let's bring in Franz Beard right now, GatorBaitMedia.com, one of the best basketball and football writers around. Franz, say hello. I think you've met Jacques Doucet, 2-time Louisiana Sportscaster of the Year, Channel 9 in Baton Rouge.
I know Channel 9 in Baton Rouge well. I was at one point in time the sports editor in Hammond when we had this little ball player named Mulkey, who was pretty darn good.
I love
Yeah.
I'm sure she remembers you like it was like 1983 was yesterday. Knowing her mind,
Yeah.
nothing escapes it.
She and I are close friends, and my goodness, you want to inject fire into a program. She is like an acetylene torch. Yeah, she's gonna, it's called Get in My Way, and it was Sherman marching to the sea, burning everything in our path.
Yeah, and she went, and you think about this, the coaches you just mentioned, and I know SEC history very well. There's never been a coach who's been to head coach at 3 different SEC schools. I know in 1922, and none of us were around, Mike Donahue left Auburn for a salary raise from $5,000 to $10,000 to go to LSU. And he'd won 3 national championships at Auburn. He spoke Gaelic, broken English, went to LSU, didn't have a lot of success. Look him up. And I think the thing he's most well known for at LSU, if I'm not mistaken, and you're going to know better than me, but I believe Mike the Tiger got his name from Mike Donahue. So would you check that for me?
I will check it. I know the colors for sure were chosen for Mardi Gras. I think Tulane grabbed green and white first, and then LSU took purple and gold, if I'm not mistaken.
I did not know that. That is cool. Look, Jacques, you mentioned a little while ago, and Brendan, with his background in production and TV trucks and all, and Franz and I can tell you, TV in the early days, before you had a live cam for everything, the amount of time for you to do a 30-minute show, that can take weeks or months, can it?
That's for me or for Frank? I'm sorry,
well, for you. Like if you're doing that documentary that you did on Cecil the Diesel Collins.
Well, yeah, that was off and on for 3 years. We have our day job, and then we have our things that we were doing on the side. But that's when COVID hit, and there were no sports to cover in real time, and some Zoom interviews led to this and that. And I was like, well, everyone else is doing documentaries. We're a local TV station. We have all the footage. We can interview the people. Why don't we try to do our own? And end up being about 40 minutes. Could have been longer for sure. But the people that you're interviewing have to be open. If Cecil didn't want to talk about any of that stuff, then it would have gone nowhere. But he did. And, I need to order him one of these and send it to him. He deserves an Emmy just as much as we did. Yeah. That was a great thing to do. I'm glad we did it. And it was something that kind of sets you apart a little bit. You hope at least that I think the SEC network would have done something like that eventually, I would think. So I'm glad we were able to do it first.
Well, another thing, I know Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee have Spanish-speaking football networks. Did you know that? I would think it would be really cool if LSU had an Acadian French-speaking LSU football broadcast. How about that? South of I-10, Jacques. Your dad is fluent in it, isn't he?
Find a cousin of Justin Wilson. How y'all are,
Poor man, the quarterback, he didn't have no time to throw the ball. No, boy, they sack him. Poor big people don't block up front. Poor they stink. That you get a lot of people to listen to that. Hey, just tell the truth. Don't try to dress this thing up.
I love Louisiana. I told you, a lot of my great-great-grandfather lived there in Thibodeau for 20 years. He was the first Episcopal bishop in Louisiana. There's nothing else like Louisiana in the country. And their fan base, I got a ton of LSU fans. My friend Tanner Stein, their family owns Stein Home and Lumber all over Louisiana. They're down in Lake Charles and DeRidder. God almighty. Before you go.
Got to say it right. Lake Charles.
Yeah, Lake Charles. Okay. But you're from Lafayette and about an hour from Baton Rouge. The LSU fan base right now, and just look around the country. The coaching, Brian Kelly, it just didn't fit. But Lane Kiffin seems like he's really into the people. Do you see him opening up maybe a practice or two to bring the fans back in and say, hey, man, we're a state university funded by state tax dollars and state residents and fans in general?
Well, all the media is curious how much access we're going to get in the spring. And apparently he wasn't all that open at Ole Miss. Now, look, I don't need to be watching them scrimmage or any of that. It'd be nice if we can get shots of the new players, get Kiffin walking around at practice, to be able to showcase people. So I hope we're able to do that. But and then what is the spring going to be? I mean, I think at Ole Miss he did like a flag football game or something. They didn't even do like any kind of spring game or scrimmage of any kind.
Yeah.
So, but I think he will definitely. He's kind of a paradox, Rob. Like on social media, he can't stop talking, but then you put him in a podium at a press conference, and he's not all that comfortable doing that. I mean, he's not one of these guys that's rushing to a podium. Hey, I want to talk and stuff. He did a press conference last week. It was good, and it was about 35 minutes. First one he's done since he was named the head coach on December the 1st. But I think Brian Kelly, oftentimes, for as accomplished as a coach as he is, and I enjoyed covering him, and he was good to me, but I think he often came across as elitist, didn't really want to mingle with people in Louisiana. They used to do a thing called the Tiger Tour where the coach would go around and talk in different cities. He didn't do any of that. The coaches show, people really couldn't go up and talk to him in commercial break or take their picture, get their autograph with him. He was just very standoffish when it came to that stuff. Now, if you would have won 11, 12 games a year, made playoffs, he'd still be the coach. But the bottom line is the bottom line. You got to win. And Lane Kiffin knows that. I mean, he knows that the scoreboard is a scoreboard that will dictate more than anything. But when things aren't going well, at least it gives you a little bit of saving grace with the fans where they can say for at least maybe one more loss, hey, he's a good guy. Nope, I lost you. I can't hear you.
The people of Louisiana, that is their school. And there is a marriage to it that is unique. You don't see that around the country at many schools. But that's what I love about it. But Jacques, let people know how they can follow you. You put out so much great content on Twitter, and we don't have newspapers like we used to. But if you follow Jacques Doucet on Twitter, and he's thinking about doing a Cajun French Twitter version. By the way, I love that Cajun broadcast. I think that's got some legs.
Oh, it'd be hilarious. There was this guy, I think they called him Poo Poo Boudreaux. He had a YouTube channel, and he did like the Cajun reenactment of like famous scenes. Like, so one of the more famous ones he did was from Titanic, and it was two guys dressed up, but one of them dressed up as a girl, and they stood up on the front of the. Matt, you feel like you're flying? Yeah, Ma, I feel like I'm flying. The scene from Titanic, the front with Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
I could do it. I could tell you that. But then people would say, oh, you're making fun of the Cajun French people or whatever. No. But I always say your T's turn into D's when you start doing Cajun. Man, look at that over there, So Louisiana, Rob, Baton Rouge is not Cajun. Like people think, Coach Joe, perfect fit. I'm like, yeah, but Baton Rouge, they're not. I mean, they embrace that Cajun stuff here and there, but you go an hour the other direction, that's the Cajun people. And then you go to New Orleans, and that's a whole different thing. And then go down to Thibodeau, that's Cajun. So we're quite a melting pot. You go 1 hour each direction, it's totally different. But but anyway, I appreciate you being on WAFB, having me on WAFB.com. Follow me, Jacques Doucet, on X and Facebook. We've got the LSU baseball special coming up this Thursday. And then I did a sit down with the 20-year anniversary of LSU's 2006 Final Four team that beat Duke in Texas. John Brady, Daryl Mitchell, Tasman Mitchell, Tyrus Thomas all came in. We're going to put that out soon. So we got a lot of stuff going down. My one-on-one with Jay Johnson's up at YouTube. Lots of stuff. So check it out.
Yeah, John Brady will be on with us Thursday morning. Love having him on. He talked about his top 6 players all grew up within 50 miles of the campus. Towns like Denham Springs, where Shannon Robique played his high school football, played his college football at Auburn. I remember that.
I lost track of time one night years ago, and I called John Brady after a game, and damn it, you called Nick Saban on his cell phone at 11:30 at night? And I'm like, well, I don't have Nick Saban's cell phone. And I still don't.
I love it, man. Jacques Doucet, thank you so much for sharing your time. Thank you more than you know, okay?
All right, thanks. All right, friends, good seeing you. Good
to see you too.
I saw you.
All right.
Take care.
Just say how y'all are.
How y'all are. Franz, you got a badass hat on right now. And look, I really do. Can you imagine, LSU Cajun French Cajun broadcast? That would be huge. Franz, one of my favorite phrases or terms I got from you and Buddy, really, the muck, Lake Okeechobee. People don't understand. I mean, we talk so much about Louisiana. They don't talk enough about the state of Florida. And by the way, folks, buy this book, The Golden Season. I'm looking for a copy of it because Franz Beard, he's going to take you through that Gator basketball national championship season last year. And Franz, you said you're going to do another one this year.
Yep.
And you talked with me yesterday. We were on the telephone about when Florida went up February 8th last year to Auburn and put a beating on Auburn. And at that time, I said, Gators are going to win the national championship. You had prepped me on that because of the 5 or 6 big guys that they had on that roster that could run up and down the court, that were coordinated. And then you bring in Walter Clayton Jr., comes back from Iona, Bartow, Florida, native. Now Memphis Grizzly. I mean, that gives me a reason to want to go watch the Grizzlies play because you got Walter Clayton Jr. But SEC basketball, you and Kevin Skarbinski write with a sense of urgency about college basketball like you do with college football. That's so hard to do. That's like being able to speak English and French Cajun. You know, Jacques Doucet's father is pretty famous last year on Easter Sunday on the levee of the Mississippi River, having a conversation with Coach O in Cajun French. That's powerful stuff. But friends, anyway, thanks for joining us. And you know what? You know the Gators, but you know all of college basketball. I'm putting the ball in your hands and just run wild with a semblance of structure about what's going on in the SEC, the good, the bad, and the ugly in basketball this season.
Well, the SEC doesn't have the powerhouse teams it had last year, but it's still, if you go from the top to the bottom of the league, it's still the deepest league in the entire country. The problem is we don't have those 4 or 5 teams up at the top. For example, you know, up in the Big Ten, you got Michigan, you got Purdue, you got teams like Michigan State and Nebraska is really good this year. And so for Florida, you know, the SEC's got one marquee team, and that's Florida. And the Gators right now have turned that corner. Florida, I'm going to tell you what, right now, the 2 teams in this country, nobody wants to play are Florida and Kansas. I don't know if you saw it last night. Without Darren Peterson, Kansas knocks off Arizona at Fogg. And hell of a ball game. Bill Self coaching his butt off. I mean, probably that was vintage Self. That was Bill Self at his absolute best. And he outcoached Tommy Lloyd, totally outcoached him. And he did it without Darren Peterson, the best player in the country. Florida is at that point. A year ago, they went to Auburn. You take a year and a day later, they go to Texas A&M. This year, you know, the Auburn game last year, I thought was a turning point game because it opened the eyes of everybody, and everybody said, uh-oh, these guys are legit. And they had played a bad schedule up until, you know, in the non-conference. It was a terrible non-conference schedule. This year, he loads up with the non-conference schedule, loses some ball games, and people lose sight of the fact that he loses to Arizona in Las Vegas in a crowd, 18,000 people, probably 16,000 of them were Arizona fans. I mean, that was a home game for Arizona. He loses at Cameron Indoor Stadium by a point in a game. I mean, my gosh, you got Roger Sayers and officiating the game. You know, I had lunch with Phil Ford before that game, and Phil Ford says, 5 minutes to go. Just remember this. It's Florida's 5 against Duke's 8. And he says, and if you got Roger Ayers, you're screwed. Yeah. Well, guess what? We had Roger Ayers, and we lost by a point there. Then we go up to UConn, and we've got a chance to win that game too. We lose by 4. But look at those three teams. Everybody's saying those three teams will be in the Final Four this year, and they probably will. But Florida is right there with them, and so is Kansas. Those are these two teams right there, along with Michigan. I think you got 6 teams that really can win a national championship, and I think those are the 6.
All right. I got to ask you this one because I was listening to you reel it up. Remember last year, there was people saying there were 25, maybe 30 teams that could win it all. The SEC had 4 or 5. You had Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Florida. Those teams last year especially. And I'm trying to think if there's anyone I left off. Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, and
we had four of the Elite 8.
Yeah.
2 of the Final 4.
Yeah. So, but we don't have it this year. We had a lot of experience in the league last year, a lot of age. Really, it was a lot of age. It's different this year. You mentioned Arizona, Tommy Lloyd. How do they keep doing it in Tucson? It started back, 35, 40 years ago.
Yeah,
and
Lute Olson
was amazing.
Lute Olson came over from Long Beach State, and he convinced these kids in Southern California and in places like West Texas, you're not that far from us. And Tucson can be kind of a fun place. I've been to Tucson. Tucson's, or as they call it in West Texas, Tucson. Tucson can be a fun place. But I'll tell you this: it's the darkest place I've ever been at night.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about a city of 1 million people, and at night it is dark as it can be.
Tucson that big? Wow.
Well, Metro Tucson.
Metro Phoenix.
Well, no, Metro Phoenix is more like about 5 million.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah.
Tucson's 600,000 people with a metro of another 400,000. So
wow.
It's an amazing place. And they've got an advantage here. There's nothing else there. They don't have pro football. They don't have pro basketball. I don't even think they have a minor league baseball team anymore. I don't even think anybody trains there for spring training anymore. For years, it was the home of the Cubs for spring training at High Corbett Field, but now High Corbett is the home of the Arizona Wildcats baseball team. I mean, they got a 11,000 seat stadium that's absolutely gorgeous. And Bear Down, I mean, my gosh, they've got facilities, they've got everything, and they're the only game in town. You were talking about LSU earlier. This is the only game in town. Period.
Yeah, it is.
Now, Arizona State has a big following. That's up north. Down there, that's it.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's just so much fun. I mean, again, SEC, we're in the SEC, but again, it's the tectonic plate effect all over the country. What they do affects us and vice versa. So it's the same. And in between, best basketball right now, Florida looks like the best hope. Bucky Ball at A&M, you're right. They just create chaos out there, try to run up and down, but they don't have a lot of size. Florida's got size, and that is worth a lot in today's world.
Well, Florida's got size and the best player in the Southeastern Conference, bar none. Tommy Hawk. People can talk about, well, they got Nate Ament up at Tennessee. Yeah, he's a good freshman. They got Darius Acuff Jr. at Arkansas. Great freshman. You can go on and on and on. Nobody does what Tommy Hawk does. And all you got to do is look at what he did against Arizona, against Duke, and UConn. He ate them up. UConn's coach came out and said he's the best player I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And this guy can do it all. And you take a guy like that, who they start him out on the wing, and they'll play him at the high post, they'll play him down low, and you give him pieces like Ruben Chinyelu, who is an absolute beast down low. I mean, you're talking about 6'11", 265, 270. Condon doesn't get the props he needs to. You're talking about a 6'11" guy that blocks 2 or 3 shots a game, that second on the team in assists. Excuse me, beats the press. And now everybody talks about the guards. Do you know that Florida's made more 3-pointers than the other teams they played this year?
Yeah.
People say, well, Florida doesn't have any shooting. Well, we made more threes than everybody else. You know, and I look at it like this: a missed three is like an assist with Florida, the way we rebound. You know, you miss the three, okay, fine. Chinulu will get it, stick it back.
Yeah.
So you end up scoring 2.
Franz, you know, and I want to go back to the book, The Golden Season. In last year, you know, we were pounding out SEC basketball. You had 4 teams, you know, we mentioned them in the Elite 8, and Gators won the national championship. This year, it's completely different, yet the Gators are emerging. They go on the road and win by 17 at Texas A&M. In your book, you talk about, and Tommy Hawk, he's from Pennsylvania, you know, and he was a 3-star out of high school.
Not even that. It was a 2.
Okay. I was going to say a high 2, maybe a 3. But you look at this team, a bunch of big guys that can run up and down the court. Now, you don't have Walter Clayton Jr. to distribute the ball. Walter Clayton Jr.'s football background, he was a hell of a football player out of Bartow, Florida.
4-star. 4 stars.
Yeah, exactly. 4-star safety.
Elijah Martin was a 4-star quarterback.
Yeah. And so you had some guys that played, and I think you should play every sport you can as opposed to one sport. And tonight I get to be on the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows on this here channel. Love doing that with Lauren. But your book is really a great story about how a team came together in a year that the SEC was probably the best it's ever been. And to win the national championship in that season, that's a hell of a statement.
Well, it is a great story because you got to remember something. You get Elijah Martin transfers in from Florida Atlantic. Will Richard, whose dad played in the NFL, who's from Clemson, you know, came from Belmont. So those 3 transfers. And then you get Condon, who was a no-star. You get Hawk, who was a 2-star, whose best offer was Richmond. And then Florida gets Kevin Hovde, and he comes to Florida. You got Micah Hanlongton, who 7'1" and right in the heart of ACC country. And nobody wants him. He goes to Marshall, then transfers down to Florida. Yeah. And look at what you got there. You got a team that had to blend together, and they played with a magnificent chip on their shoulder all year because they were the guys nobody wanted. And you get up there, never forget, I got there on Thursday. Friday, they have the open practice in San Antonio. And here comes the Duke rider. Well, gonna be us and y'all, and you know, that runner-up trophy is really nice. And I'm thinking to myself, And then look what happened to them. You know, they got you know what, 16, 12-star recruits. You know, I mean, if Florida doesn't have 12 stars, you add all its recruits together, and you can't come up with 12 stars. Yeah. But it's about being a team. It's about having a coach that understands what it's like to build a roster and bring out the best in them, know whose buttons to punch. The best part about the book for me is it rescued me. I had a rough year last year. Lost my stepfather, my parent, who 31 years was sat on my shoulder, all within a period of a month. And basketball rescued me. And this book was about how basketball rescued me that year and really pulled me up from the doldrums. And this year, the new book's going to do the same thing because my mom passed away back on December 8th. And basketball has once again become the thing that lifts me up. And I'm fortunate enough that Buddy Martin gives me this platform to write about the game I love. I got to play high school ball in Mississippi for the late, great Benny Kimball, who used to, with his high-pitched voice, Franz, man, can't you play a lick of defense? And the answer to that was no. We moved back to Florida, and Garney Hatch says, Franz Beard, can't you play a lick of defense? And it's no. But I'm a no defense player who gets to write about defense, which is kind of fun for me.
Well, again, that's what's so cool about. We just got a couple of minutes left, about a minute, and I've got to say something about sponsors. But you're a great storyteller, and you just that sense of urgency, like with Buddy, and that's what's so special, man. Folks, do yourself a favor, work your brain out. There's a lot of crap going on in the world. Read this book. It's like running 10 miles and having a cold beer when you get through, sitting on the beach. It is an absolute treasure. And One Stone Angel, this guy's tough. He's one of our biggest fans, Franz. He's a Gator, and I believe he's fighting cancer. He watches this show every day, and we're lucky we do have thousands of people on a podcast. You got it live, and as they grow throughout the day, share us, like us, and subscribe. Please do it. Franz, we'll do it again next week. It's basketball time. And this story, like you said, this is the book about your life story interwoven with Gator basketball, man. You really can't get much better than that. And tell them one thing in 30 seconds or less. Gator basketball, how high is high enough this year?
They're capable of winning it all. They are. Now, will they? Once you get to that Elite 8 level, anything happens. Yeah. Anything happens. But are they capable of doing it? Yeah. And people forget one thing. Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland have a history of making shots. They hadn't made them this year. Yeah. But if they start shooting 30%, Florida's unbeatable.
Yeah. And if you've had success, that muscle memory index is a big deal. Okay, here's a question. Am I clapping or am I calling a timeout, Kirby? I love it. Franz Beard, we'll see you next week again. Thanks for coming on. Buy this book, folks.
Thank you.
It's an awesome story about life, perseverance, and winning, man. Franz, we'll see you. Let me say, you bet. And everybody watching this show, thank you more than you know. Share us, like us, and subscribe. And if you're going through battles, know that you're in our prayers. I don't say thoughts. I say we're praying for you. One Stone Angels, one such man. I think he's at UAMS. That's in Little Rock. I'd like to meet this guy one day. But I'm going to tell you what, for executive producer Brendan Martin, let me say something incredible what he does throughout the show. And we are so blessed to have great sponsors like Landers Ford. Look over. There you go, like the weatherman. LandersFordMemphis.com. Open every day of the week except Sunday, okay? Service department, round-trip transportation. They'll pick you up, take you out there. Do us a favor. Call them and buy from them. We love having them as a sponsor. Send them business. Brad Bellamy, the GM. Kent Ritchie. Golly. Don Kitchens. The whole team. Also a new store at I-240 in Mount Moriah. They're there. They've got the Ford F-150s, the 250s, the King Ranch, the Ford Escape, those Broncos. They've got them in robin egg, blue with the retro. They've got you covered. Right down the street from Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Boots, Barber, Filson, STS, Devil Dog Jeans, Filson Luggage. Man, they've got great looking stuff from Duckhead. They got you covered. HewlettandDunn.com. And Lights Out Gummies, Energy Gummies, Chill Gummies, HempForPros.com. You got aches and pains and you have trouble sleeping, get these, okay? And remember, MyTownRoofing.com. Don't wait till your roof is in your floor in your den or in your bedroom. Get MyTownRoofing.com to come out there and check your roof out. They're very reasonable, and they've got the hardest working crews you will ever see. And remember, most often, you will face Christ in the least among us. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching.